In this video, we're going to look at how you can recycle garbage to make your own quality display plinths. Stay to the end and I'll show you how they look in some real world examples. You're going to want to have a hunt about and find any little plastic bottles or lids, ideally ones that have an interesting design on the side. This Centrum vitamin bottle here will be ideal. Now there's a lot of different ways you can alter it to create a plinth. I'll go over the basic process to get you started. First, we're going to shrink it down by getting rid of the top and bottom parts of the bottle, and I'll do that with a thin hobby saw, just cutting right through the plastic. You can get these saws from most hobby shops. They're pretty cheap but super useful. Next, you'll use a scalpel blade to trim down any ragged edges left from your initial cut. And you'll also want to use the blade to remove any mould lines from the sides. Give those areas a rub down with a piece of sandpaper to smooth out any imperfections left on the surface. You should be left with something that looks like this, and you can use your fingers to make sure you haven't missed any rough patches. It should feel smooth to the touch. Next, you're going to take a bit of plastic card, big enough that it will cover up the top. Apply some super glue onto the rim along that upper part of the bottle and press the plastic card on top, making sure you get a good seal around the whole edge. You can use an activator spray to speed up the drying time if you have one. Once the glue has dried, use a pair of scissors to cut off most of the excess plastic card. It's really easy to cut with normal scissors. It feels a lot like cutting a thin piece of cardstock. Switch back to your hobby knife and carefully cut away the small parts of plastic that is left over. The scissors are a bit too imprecise to get a clean cut, but the knife will give you way more control. Once you've finished that, use a piece of sandpaper to smooth down the edges. And you can use a makeup brush to get rid of all the dust if you like. A damp cloth will work just as well. Now you're going to be left with an obvious gap where the plastic card is joined onto the base. So an easy way to get rid of that is by simply running some super glue around the join. The glue is going to sink into the recess, and once that dries you can actually use a bit of sandpaper to smooth it down. And that should leave you with a seamless finish. It's a lot quicker and less hassle than using something like Milliput. If you find any bits where the glue hasn't filled the join properly, just add a bit more glue to those spots, and then sand them down once it's dry. Next, we are going to be using some Milliput, so I'll whack on a pair of rubber gloves to save my hands from getting all manky. If you haven't used Milliput before, it comes in 2 little sticks, and you're going to cut equal parts off each stick, and then just smoosh them together for a while until they're mixed. You're going to know it's mixed once you stop seeing streaks in the putty. It will just be an even colour. Set that aside for now and we'll fill the void inside our base with a bit of tin foil, just loosely scrunching it up and stuffing it unceremoniously into the hole. Once you've done that, you're going to grab some more Milliput and start to press it into the tin foil. And the goal here is just to seal off the bottom of the plinth. It also gives your base a bit of weight, so it's going to be less likely to topple over. Using the tin foil will give your Milliput something to grip onto and save you from using an ungodly amount of this stuff. Keep putting the putty into the hole until it's slightly proud of the surface. Then you're going to set that aside and leave it to cure. It should take about 4 hours, but I usually leave it overnight just to be sure. Once it's ready, it should be hard to the touch. Now you're going to sand this flat, but just to save yourself a bit of time, start off with a knife and just cut most of the excess putty off, being sure that you don't cut so deep that you go past that baseline. Then just finish that off by smoothing it down with some sandpaper. Again, you can use a soft brush or a cloth to get rid of any dust that's left on the surface. As I said, you can vary this process to get different results. For example, here I've cut a wedge into the side, allowing us to attain 2 tiers with a neat water effect in the lower section. In this one I made a much shorter version, actually leaving the screw top in place. That allows us with the option of easily removing the top and replacing it with a new scene if we ever get bored of the one that we have. Here's a little ruined castle scene that we're busy creating. It's not painted yet, but you get the idea. The only limiting factor is really your own imagination. So grab some glue and get cracking. If you'd like to support the channel, gain exclusive access to longer ad-free video content, as well as automatic membership to our active Discord community, become a patron today for as little as $1 a month.